Everybody, today we're going to be creating a GUI using Java. That means a graphical user interface, and it's going to allow us to present the user with a button that has text and color, and every time they click it, it's going to change to look like a different button. And then when they click it, it's going to go back to the original and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But it's only going to be one button because we're just changing elements of it. So with that being said, I'll start explaining the code. We import all these libraries you can see. Two important things to mention are, one of them is java.awt that we've worked with before, and another one is java.swing, javax.swing, I should say. And that one is newer, and we're going to use that to import a lot of components for our GUIs, and those are going to be a lot of JFrame components. And we know that all these JFrame components are going to come from javax.swing because everything that comes from Swing has a J in front of it. So that's why we have some J's in this code. So I've titled my class MyGUI, and its public class MyGUI extends JFrame. As I said, we're borrowing a lot of components from JFrame, and implements action listener. And the reason we have implements action listener is because we're implementing event handling. So that's going to make it interactive for the user. So the first thing we do is, this is our first component from the JFrame, and it's a J button. So we create a new J button, we have it say simply hello, and then we create two colors because we're going to be changing the color back and forth of this button. Then we create a Boolean called isCyan, because we are going to be using this Boolean and some chained if-else statements to have this button always be changing back and forth and back and forth. So I'll explain how we do that a little later. So the next thing we do is import a content pane from JFrame, and we're of course adding J from it. You can see that component right here, and with this next line, what we're doing is we're registering our event handler to notify our button when a user clicks so that it can change certain elements. And then we set our default for the button. We set it to cyan to begin with. We set it to be opaque so that the color shows up, otherwise it won't. And then we set the size of it. This can be anything, I just decided on this. And then we need to set it to be visible. So once we do this, we have created our button. But now we need to we need to implement our event handling. So the way we do that is we write public void action performed, and then we have our action event is B. And what B is a click. So once our event happens, it triggers a chained if-else series of statements. And so we can see here what will happen is it checks if the color is cyan, and if the color is cyan, we're going to go ahead and switch the background to red, and we're going to switch the text to say goodbye. And then the next time it runs, it won't execute this part of the if-else statement. It will execute this part of the if-else statement. So once it changes to red, then we'll run it, and we won't run this part because it'll be red now. We'll run this part. And what that's going to do is set the color back to cyan and change the text back to hello because we had just changed it to goodbye. And the way that we accomplish this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth infinitely is by having our Boolean is cyan and having these chained if-else statements. So let's go and run it and see what happens. It takes a second to load, and then we have hello, goodbye. We keep clicking it, and it will always be changing back and forth. And so I hope that explained kind of how we use a GUI, and I hope it was helpful. And the way we did it was using JFrames, if-else statements, and event handling.